Hey folks, this is Kalani. The last content patch of the Dragonflight expansion 10.2.7 is now live. There's all new story content exploring the dreaded Harbinger, what she's up to and how that all ties into the next expansion. You can catch up with other Dragonflight story content much easier. There are various UI updates to check out, some very impactful class buffs and nerfs, and you can even get an extra piece of bronze bullion gear. We're going to go through everything to do in patch 10.2.7 and what you should do first to avoid missing some very powerful time-limited rewards. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Whenever you first log in to patch 10.2.7, you should get a quest pop up called The Harbinger. Khadgar needs our help, and he's invited Illyria for a little chat about what to do next. Obviously, we need to hunt down this mysterious Harbinger. We can't just let them run loose with a powerful void artifact now, can we? So off we go, Illyria in tow, to see what we can find out. We'll discover why void disturbances are popping up all over the place, who the Harbinger is, and part of what she's planning with the Dark Heart. Besides learning what's happening and what the Harbinger is after and how that leads into the war within expansion, there are some really cool rewards throughout these quest lines too. Towards the end you'll get Illyria's bow as a transmog option, which will make a lot of hunters very happy. That bow is quite unique and it's going to be the basis of so many new transmog sets going forward, I'm sure. You'll also get an arsenal of void-themed weapons, which includes a one-handed sword, a shield, an offhand and a one-handed mace, which is actually a flail. These items look amazing and will go alongside any void-themed transmog or armor set you have going on. And then the very last quest rewards you with a void skin colour option for the Slither Drake dragon riding mount, which looks very cool. I wish we had the option for every Drake style. It's a shame it's just for one of them, but those are the rewards for finishing the questline. Now before we continue, a message from today's sponsor Stunlock Studios. The official release of V Rising is finally here. Experience a vampire survival action RPG adventure like no other. Rise from your grave after centuries of slumber and hunt for blood to regain your power. Explore a vast open world of dark fantasy, face humans and monsters alike, and worse, the deadly sunlight. Unleash your creativity, build your own unique gothic castle, and don't forget to craft a coffin for your well-deserved rest after a long, sinful night. Hunt alone or gather a clan, V Rising can be played both solo or co-op with friends. In a world of conflict, be the vampire who reigns supreme. Dare you challenge the throne of Dracula? V Rising is out now on Steam and the PlayStation 5 version is just around the corner. Check the links in the description below. With the new story content out of the way, the next most important thing to get done this week would be the weekly event quest. It's the Mythic Dungeon weekly event, which asks you to complete 4 dungeons on Mythic difficulty. The reward is the most important factor here. Usually you would get a box of random raid gear, which was always a very potent reward considering the quest requirements, but in Season 4 is even better. This quest rewards you with 2 antique bronze bullions. This is the only source outside of the raid that we've seen for bullions so far, and the only extra bullions you can get besides the 1 per week from killing raid bosses. The bullions can be traded in for a piece of 493 gear. You can buy any weapon, ring, trinket or very rare item from any of the Dragonflight raids, and it can be upgraded up to item level 535. So this is some of the best gear in the game right now, and this weekly quest rewards you with enough bullions to buy a piece of gear right away. It's probably the best weekly quest reward we've seen in a very long time. Mythic dungeons also aren't as hard as they were being made out to be. Remember that Mythic 0 dungeons count for this quest, and they don't have any timers or affixes for you to worry about, so you can progress through them at your own pace. It's also really easy to overgear these dungeons, with bullions, crafted gear and higher item level open world gear available to us, so hop in and give it a shot. You might surprise yourself and walk away with some very shiny loot. If you've worked through the Harbinger questline and are hungry for some more story content, this patch also removed the restrictions on all of the renowned gated story quests in Dragonflight. You can find this new little congregation of NPCs in Valdrakken, and they offer the quests that were previously locked behind renowned levels. Some of these questlines are actually pretty important for the overall story of Dragonflight, so if you didn't work through them when they were current, they might explain some things you may have missed, so you can finally catch up to everyone else without having having to actually grind reputation or renown. You can also pick up a new quest from Chromie right by the fountain in Valdrakken. This quest will lead you down to the Valdrakken barbershop where you'll find the Drakthea scale commanders discussing their vicious forms. Work your way through these quests and you'll get yourself a personal tabard, which can be customized just like a guild tabard, except you can change it whenever you want and it's not tied to a guild or faction, it's your personal flair. The patch also introduced a whole bunch of new UI options that might be helpful to you. To start with, we have a better filter for the group finder, so you can narrow down your search dependent on many different options. This should make it faster to find groups you can actually get into for the content you're wanting to run. Sadly, it does seem to be pretty broken in its current state. Hopefully that gets patched up quickly, but as a temporary fix, you can enable your mature language filter, and that should get the group finder back into a working state for now. There's also new icons on the world map that show you the location of dragon riding races, so you can find those much easier and faster. Hunters have a brand new pet stable UI to explore and get used to, and then there's a new option in the auction house to limit your search results to current expansion materials and items only, which is a great change in my opinion. No more searching through mounds of irrelevant materials to find something you're actually looking for. And then just in case you missed it, there were actually some pretty hefty class buffs and nerfs coming into patch week. Vengeance Demon Hunters were knocked down a peg or two, their Sigil of Silence duration was reduced down to 4 seconds, its cooldown was increased up to 90 seconds as well. Cycle of Binding now reduces sigil cooldowns by 2 seconds per trigger, down from 3 seconds per trigger, and then Soul Cleave damage was also reduced by 8%, so some pretty big nerfs for Vengeance Demon Hunter. Balanced Druids saw a quick buff to their 2 and 4 set bonuses, increasing the 2 set up to 50% from 30%, and the 4 set will further reduce the cost of Astral Power spenders and increase their damage by 60% up from 40%. Brewmaster Monks caught the nerf bat as well this week. Keg Smash damage is down 10%, Spinning Crane Kick was nerfed by 10%, Summon White Tiger statue damage is down 30%, effectiveness of Stagger against magical attacks was actually buffed up to 55%, and then Healing Sphere healing was also increased by 10%. Assassination Rogues have a quick 6% buff to all of their ability and auto attack damage, with a bug fix coming in for their Season 4 tier set bonuses. Warlocks have quite a few buffs. For Affliction, Doom Blossom damage is increased by 10%, Vile Taint damage is up 25%, Soul Flame damage was increased by 20%, and Soul Rot damage is up 5%. For Destruction, Chaos Bolt was bumped up by 3%, Conflagrate is up 5%, and Incinerate was buffed by 5% as well. And then for the Warriors, Fury saw a quick 3% buff to all ability damage, and the 2 set and 4 set bonuses were both buffed a little bit. Protection saw a 5% boost to all of their ability damage, Devastator was increased by 30%, Ignore Pain healing is up 6%, Disruption Shout's cooldown was reduced, Enduring Alacrity bonuses were both doubled, and then Battering Ram was cut in half. So quite a few class changes that you might want to be aware of as you head into your raids and dungeons for the week. After you've worked through all of the new story content, caught up with some things you may have missed, and got your 2 free bullions for the week, you're mostly back to just Season 4 activities. This week we have the Mirdrasil weekly quest with all of the relevant content being empowered, so you want to pop by the Emerald Dream Zone to take part in the open world content there, progress through the Mirdrasil raid, and keep working towards any Season 4 goals you may have. If you're currently up to date with your Splintered Sparks, you should be able to get a new piece of high-level crafted gear this week too, and with the 2 free bullions from the weekly quest, that means you can get 2 guaranteed huge upgrades this week. While your Splintered Sparks will carry over somewhat, and you can then catch up in future weeks if you miss this week, those 2 bullions from the weekly quest will probably be unobtainable if you don't get the quest done, so I would try and prioritize that if you can. And that should cover pretty much everything in 10.2.7, but I know what you're thinking, what about that super special Mists of Pandaria event? That's a part of 10.2.7, right? How do we get that new game mode? Well, you don't, at least not yet. The WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria event doesn't start up until May 16th, so that's just over a week away if you're watching this on patch day. That event is going to be a blast if the testing was anything to go by, we just have to wait a little bit longer to get our hands on it. We'll have a lot of videos going over the event and how it all works, so stay tuned for those. That gives us about a week to get the new story content done, get some gearing up done, and figure out which new character you're going to make for the Mists of Pandaria event. But that's everything you can do in patch 10.2.7 and what you should do first, so that's it for this video. How do you feel about the Mists event not starting up until next week, and what are you going to focus on in patch 10.2.7? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members who are on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.